Governor Mitt Romney spent much of the primary season trying to convince some Tea Party Republicans and social conservatives that he was the man who can defeat President Obama. Last night, Governor Romney had this to say on everything from spending cuts to personal liberty.
And does America that we want succumb to resentment and division among Americans? The America we all know has been a story of the many becoming one, uniting to preserve liberty, uniting to build the greatest economy in the world, uniting to save the world from unspeakable darkness.
Utah Senator Mike Lee joins us live. And Senator, thanks for taking a few moments to be with us. So what about that? Did the speech, those words in particular and other words, did they excite the Tea Partiers?
You know, I think they excite and resonate with those of us who believe in constitutionally limited government. We want to see somebody who's willing to say, look, the government is not the solution to all of our problems. And that's what we heard from Governor Romney last night. We don't need more taxes. We don't need more government programs. We need to unlock the unlimited human potential of the American people and allow them to do what they do best.
When he was governor of Massachusetts, he was known as a centrist. Is he conservative enough?
He governed as a conservative. He governed as much of a conservative as he could, with about 85% of the legislature being in the control of the Democratic Party. Now, it's important at this point in our country's history that he continue to fight for conservative principles, that he do so as aggressively as he possibly can, and that he stick to the same principles that he outlined last night, making clear that government is not the solution, government's the problem.
Today's Wall Street Journal seemed critical that Governor Romney presented few policy details. Yes, he talked about cutting spending. He talked about lowering the marginal rates, less regulation, and changes to Medicare. But the Journal today said, quote, he glossed over those important subjects. Fair criticism?
Well, look, this is not atypical of a convention speech. In fact, it would be atypical if a presidential candidate at his party's convention outlined a very specific, detailed policy blueprint. This is a big overview that is normally presented at a convention. He did that, and he did it exceptionally well.
You know, you've probably had a chance to look at the assessment by the Tax Policy Center. In fact, I've got a copy of it here. They claim that Romney's tax plan would add $3 trillion to the deficit over 10 years and that it would favor tax reductions for the top 20%, but tax increases for the bottom 20%. I don't think that they can fully evaluate, as I hold this and I read through it, I don't think they can fully evaluate the plan because there are so unknowns. But what's your assessment?
Well, first of all, they're not taking into account the dynamic scoring element of tax reductions. That is that when you make adjustments to the tax code, very often you stimulate economic activity. That is exactly what would happen here under Governor Romney's plan, and that would actually generate more revenue, not less. In any event, I think their assumptions are flawed, and they're based on an agenda that wants to promote tax increases. And that's not what we need. That's not what we need for job creators. That'll kill jobs rather than create them.
Yeah, they're a joint venture of the Urban Institute and the Brookings Institution. Just wanted to point that out. Let me move to another subject. You share a common faith with Governor Romney, and I want to play a soundbite from last night, and I'll get your reaction on the other side.
We were Mormons, and growing up in Michigan, that might have seemed unusual or out of place, but I really don't remember it that way. My friends cared more about what sports teams we followed than what church we went to.
What did you think of that?
Yeah, it's consistent with my experience growing up. You know, I'd spent some of my growing up years in Utah, others outside the state of Utah. And, you know, by and large, my friends then, as now, don't care where I go to church. It's much more important that, especially in the political context, what we believe, what we share in common, rather than what separates us, what differentiates us.
Senator Mike Lee of Utah, thank you for being with us today.
Thank you.